Welcome to the Barrel Room Podcast, your front row seat to the world of whiskey and bourbon. In every episode, we're pouring up something worth talking about. From small batch standouts to big label legends, we sip, review, and break it all down one pour at a time. We'll talk tasting notes, share stories, give the occasional review on real-life experiences, and every now and then, bring in a special guest from the industry to share a pour and a conversation. This podcast is made possible by the generous support of our sponsors, Edward Jones, Chris Ridgett, Aged Wisdom, Bold Strategies, Fallen Brothers, Crafted Spirits, Crafted in Honor, Shared in Remembrance, Maui's Liquor, Pouring Paradise one bottle at a time, the Barrel Room Bourbon Club at Maui's Liquor, United by the Pour, Good News Brewing Company, where everyone loves good news, and Grillo's Chop and Barrel, where fine whiskey meets fine meat. This episode is also brought to you by Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield, Missouri, where premium cigars meet an unforgettable atmosphere. Whether you're celebrating a big moment or winding down from a long week, Lit is your sanctuary for top-shelf relaxation. Inhale excellence. Embrace sophistication. Visit Lit Cigar Lounge and elevate your next experience. So pull up a chair and have a pour as we dive into this week's episode of the Barrel Room Podcast. This pour of the Barrel Room is brought to you by Edward Jones financial advisor, Chris Ridgett. Just like a well-aged whiskey, a solid financial plan takes time, patience, and the right guidance. Whether you're investing for the future or planning your next big barrel pick, Chris is here to help you build a strategy that fits your goals and your lifestyle. So let's raise a glass to smart decisions and visit edwardjones.com/Chris Ridgett to get started. And now let's welcome our hosts, Brian Bisking and Kenny Gales.
Welcome back to the Barrel Room Podcast. Co-host Brian Bisking here alongside co-host Kenny Gales. As you can see, we're here at Buzzards Roost in Louisville, Kentucky with Mr. Jason Bronner. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
It's 8:30 in the morning.
Cheers.
Can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning, right?
Absolutely.
Jason, tell us what we're sipping on here this morning.
This is actually our barrel strength bourbon.
Barrel strength bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
It's got great color. Super oily. A lot of legs.
Oh, that's good. I don't know if I tried this yesterday.
Among all the things we tried, I don't know that we tried this.
We probably did. So we had the fortune and pleasure, this will air here in a week or so, but we had the fortune and pleasure last night of having dinner with you and your wife at Bourbon Bistro.
Yeah, absolutely.
That place, the atmosphere alone was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it only took 20 years to be an overnight success.
Well, why don't we start there? Talk to us about kind of your background and how you got into the whiskey industry, then how Buzzards Roost became, and then talk about the bistro.
Yeah, well, actually, this all goes back. I started my first restaurant when I was 21 years old.
Oh, wow.
So started drinking at an early age professionally. But, I was sitting around with one of my buddies, and we loved bourbon at the time, and was going to open a new restaurant. I did pizza at first. I did a little pizza pub. It was pretty cool. But wanted to move into more, not really fine dining, but just more upscale dining. So we came up with the concept of bourbons because we were sitting around drinking bourbon, and it just kind of took off from there. The more I learned about it, the more I wanted to study about it, the more I wanted to learn. And back when we started bourbons, it was, almost 21 years ago. So if you think about where people were in their bourbon journey,
Yeah.
I thought, I wanted to have a great restaurant with a bourbon background, with a great bourbon bar, because bourbon at the time was completely undermarketed, and we all know that 95% of the world's bourbon comes from, basically 50 to 70 miles from where we're sitting.
Right.
So I thought it was undermarketed, and I was born and raised here in Kentucky, and I was like, hell, some of our first T-shirts said we're bringing bourbon back one sip at a time. And so we were really out to educate people about bourbon. Before we got married, my wife and I went out to wine country, and I love wine, but they were doing wine flights out there, and I thought, well, that'd be great to educate people about bourbon, to do bourbon flights.
Yeah.
So when we first opened, the first day we opened, we had 130 bourbons.
Holy cow!
And so, like I said, 20 years ago, that was unheard of. Just, and then bourbon bars open after that. It became kind of a pissing contest, We've got more bourbons than, whoever.
Sure,
and,
sure.
and it wasn't about that. It was about educating people and calling it Bourbon's Bistro. Say if we didn't have J.W. Dan, because so many people in Kentucky, their families been raised in bourbon.
Sure.
So, my uncle or my great aunt used to work for J.W. Dan or whoever, an off brand. If we didn't have that, then we really couldn't be called Bourbon's Bistro. So we wanted every bourbon we could get our hands on, and then we could educate people about them. So it was all about bourbon education and having good food too, because I had a culinary background.
So have you been in that same building all 20 years?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
We renovated the thing. Yeah, the building's from the 1880s.
Yeah, we got a
renovated
cool
the whole
tour
thing.
last night. Have you been down in the basement?
Yeah.
You can tell the history that's in that building.
Oh man, it's unbelievable.
We had a one-of-a-kind tour last
One
night.
of a kind.
And
Yes.
we also got to drink a 1960s.
Yeah.
What was that? Was that like
Barnum?
a
Was it?
Yeah, it was like a circus.
Yeah.
Circus.
trolley or
A
caboose or
circus
something?
wagon
Circus wagon.
from Beam. Yeah, from
Yeah.
the whiskey probably from the 60s. I would assume the decanter was from the 70s, maybe early 70s. So
Crazy.
So we definitely, all of us appreciated that. That was
Yes,
super
it
cool.
was
That was a
fun.
great experience.
it's good to taste a little bit of
Um,
history,
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah.
and put it into perspective of what they were having to do to sell bourbon back in the day, because it was really popular in the 50s, and then you really start to see it die off in the early 60s because, people weren't doing what their parents were doing. Their parents were actually drinking brown liquor. And then you see where the white liquors start to take over, and another chapter in the history of bourbon that's up and down from Prohibition to World War I, World War II, and then the 60s.
When do you think it really started to take off again?
It was, I think a lot of people say that it started to take off when they came out with a single barrel. I guess it was Booker's came out with a single barrel. But I don't know. I mean, it was still pretty early when I started doing it. I just fell in love with it, and like I said, I was stubborn and out to educate the world about bourbon. And well, I mean, I think it's kind of worked a little bit.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fall on my shoulders, obviously.
Well, it takes
there's so many
community.
great people in this community. The bourbon community is unbelievable.
Well, I was going to say we've been here now 2 days. It's our second day here, and just the hospitality between Amin over at Louisville yesterday,
Oh, yeah.
you here at Buzzards Roost, and then taking us to dinner with your wife Rebecca,
Yeah.
and just even down to the bartenders and the waitresses last night, and how they just treated us like we've been there 100 times. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
it was just, it felt very family oriented.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I mean, for me, that's the restaurant business anyway. But it really does carry over into the bourbon industry. I mean, everybody in the bourbon industry is just awesome. I mean, we all, we all hang out together. And, if we're on the road in St. Louis Bourbon Festival or any festival we ever go to, if it's out of state, New Orleans Bourbon Festival especially, we have a great time down there. We all go down there and hang out together, and
That's
just
cool.
like we do here. So
Speaking of that, the shrimp and grits last night were top notch.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask him to tell us about the bone marrow whiskey.
The luge, the bone marrow luge we did
Yeah.
last night. That's
That was
freaking awesome.
That was a first for me.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I mean, we've been doing it for a while. Chef carries bone marrow, and people love it. It's like meat butter, is what I call it. You smear it on the bread and what have you. But then it's really cool if you think about fat washed whiskey, to where you've still got that kind of oil left in the bone, and it makes a great luge to do a shot out of.
Yeah, it was pretty
It's a
cool.
natural thing. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
I think Joe Maui loved it the best.
Yeah, I think he did too.
He didn't know what he was doing, but
No.
he figured it out. So talk us a little bit about Buzzards Roost here. So obviously we're sitting here in
Yeah.
your guys' tasting facility, and I know you're still back there.
Sure.
How about start about how did the name come about? Because I know there's
Yeah.
a story behind the name, and then go into more of how the brand got started.
Yeah, okay. Well, the name, I wanted to do my own whiskey, you know. And we could talk about all that. We started a lot of single barrel programs with a lot of the distilleries. We were kind of the first to do that. And like I said, flights. We also did bourbon dinners, to where I got to meet all the master distillers. And I knew all the old guys and learned a lot from them. But me going to their warehouses and doing these single barrel programs is where I really developed a palate. And it's a pretty decent palate in the industry or whatever. But I figured, let me try my hand at it. There was plenty of whiskey to be sourced, but I actually wanted, because I'm pretty particular about my whiskey, I wanted to start my own distillery. So we put together a business plan. It was about, I think, back in the day, it was $30 million.
Oh wow!
So that was kind of an uphill battle for me to raise $30 million. I don't know why you wouldn't want to give me $30 million. But maybe they knew me or something. I don't know. But we had a couple big investors lined up, and we started looking at farms. So we found a farm, beautiful. It was an old dairy farm out in Waddy, Kentucky. And it was 184 acres. It had a 200-year-old house on it, 2 natural springs. We had surveyed. We were going to put 13 warehouses on there.
Wow.
I mean, we were going to do it right and do contract work, big 36-inch column steel. So
Sounds perfect.
yeah, it was really
Two springs and
very
everything.
very cool. But we really put a lot of money and time into it. Got to the altar, what I say, and then our investor, he went and bought something else, he bought another business and whatever. So kind of left us at the altar. But anyhow, the road bordering that farm was called Buzzards Roost Road. And I thought, what a perfect name, right on, we got this farm, and borders, And in my mind, it was just like buzzards in the moonlight looking over these warehouses, right? Kind of just keeping watch. But then it turned into, we started doing some research on buzzards, and they have the best nose in the bird business. So you kind of get that to, you nose your whiskey. And they're not really busy birds. They just kind of hang out. So it's like we came up with this sit and roost a while. Like I said, the world's a real busy place. And it's like, slow down and have a drink with some friends, basically.
Yeah.
So it stuck, and the logo looks good. And, it turned out a lot better than I thought it would.
Yeah.
A lot of people love it. And I also wanted to sound, like the brand had been around 100 years.
Sure.
I didn't want some newfangled label, and I didn't want to revive an old label. So this kind of fit it for me. Buzzards Roost just sounds like, to me, it's like it's old soul.
Yeah, for sure.
Heritage.
Yeah. It sounds like it's been around a while. So
Awesome. And when did you guys open this facility?
now this we opened just about, it'll be 3 years in April. So yeah, been here. And we've seen our share of people coming up around us, and I mean, we couldn't be in a better neighborhood, especially, back in the old days, this was Whiskey Row, and it's starting to revive now as Whiskey Row again. But, people would bring their whiskey in from the state, all around the state, and roll the barrels down onto flat boats and roll them down onto steamboats right on the riverfront, because that's basically the economic thoroughfare.
Yeah.
before steam power is one way. You know, it always go to New Orleans, St. Louis, all the way down through there. But once steam power came, it really became a thoroughfare for trade and what have you. So it was an easy way to get our whiskey down down to New Orleans and everywhere else.
So yesterday we were talking about barrels, and you guys are extremely innovative and are, I think, basically setting the bar for the future of how we age whiskey and finish whiskey. And do you want to talk about what you guys are doing, kind of with your barrels, and how you have some different types of chars and toasts and stuff that you do?
Absolutely. We work with Independent Stave. They're the biggest barrel maker in the world, and I work with their head of the wood research department. There's actually a lot of data that goes into what we do as far as wood sugar extraction and how we go about it. We have, right now, we have 17 different toast profiles that we work with, and each one of those different toast profiles is bringing a different wood sugar to the surface. And so when you toast a barrel, the wood sugars come to the surface. We also use a char 1 exclusively. We feel, and the data shows, that when we toast these barrels and bring the sugars to the surface, if you put a char 4 on it, around a 55, 60 second char, it actually burns the sugars that you just brought to the surface. And everybody knows if you're barbecuing chicken, you cook the chicken before you put the barbecue sauce on, or the sugars in the barbecue sauce will burn, right?
Yeah.
So you're just tasting a char piece of meat, or a raw piece of chicken, one of the two. But when you burn that back, it's burning the sugars you just worked to bring to the surface. We'll toast our barrels anywhere 60, 90, 40 minutes. It just depends. And so we want those sugars there. The char 1 is legal, right? So we can have a straight whiskey or a straight bourbon, straight rye, whatever we want. But it's not burning those sugars. We do about a 15-second char. And like I said, a char 1, and it's easier for our liquid to get through to those toasted layers than it is to get through a char 4. It takes a lot of time to get through a char 4. Like, would I want one of our char 1s, heavily toasted barrels, to go 10, 15 years? Probably not. If you start talking about the Pappies of the world, 15, 20-year whiskeys, you're going to need that char 4, and even if you char 4 it, you're going to get a little toast on the other side of that, where the temperature starts to wane, and you're going to need that because of the soak layer. The soak line goes in and out of that wood. I mean, we think we produce pretty decent whiskeys in 4 to 6 years. I don't know that I would want to go any longer with our whiskeys in that type of barrel, because you're going to get overly tannic. You're going to get past that sugar layer, and it's going to start to pick up wood.
Sure.
So
Crazy how much research and data goes into that.
Science behind it, yeah.
it's not me. I'm a dumb bunny, but
I don't know about that.
I was
You
gonna
have a pretty
say,
good background. I mean, you're bringing the culinary aspect
Yeah,
into
yeah.
it, the education behind the wood. You worked at Vendom for a little while.
I did.
I mean, you're
I'm
bringing
also a
all this
welder,
together here, and that's why I think you guys are starting to grow, and people are finding out about you, and everybody loves what Buzzards Roost is doing. Like,
I was gonna say,
personally, I was blown away by some of the whiskeys I had yesterday, and when you told me about the char 1, the education behind all that, most of the stuff we release is char 3 and 4.
True.
And I never really thought about that aspect of it, and it makes me want to start getting into that. And we had some very young whiskey. We had a 3-year-old yesterday. It tasted like it was a 6-year-old, and that blew my mind away. So I think what you guys are doing, you guys got something going here, and I think.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, even in St. Louis, I mean, you can say Buzzards Roost to about any store or bar anymore, and they know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
One of the first things to say is, "Oh man, their cigar blend."
Yeah,
That's
everybody
like
loves
immediate.
cigar
Everybody's
blend.
their cigar blend. Yeah.
In every firehouse, every patrol car, every ambulance, and every military unit, there's a bond forged in courage, sealed by sacrifice. At Fallen Brothers Crafted Spirits, we raise a glass to the heroes who never made it home. Crafted in honor, shared in remembrance. Each bottle of our handcrafted whiskey tells a story of bravery, of brotherhood, of lives lived in service. And with every pour, you're giving back. Because a portion of every bottle goes directly to organizations supporting the families of fallen first responders right here in our area. To the ones who answered the call, to the ones who still do, and to those we'll never forget, fallen brothers, crafted spirits. Raise one. Remember them. Available now. Drink with honor. Support with heart.
We're doing at the Barrel and Bourbon Club January 14th. We're doing a private tasting for our members through your distributor in Missouri for Buzzards Roost, and so
They do a great job for us. Can't say enough good things about them. Distributors across the country aren't what they should be.
yeah,
We have a couple of great partners, and definitely a Great Eagle's one of them.
Yeah,
for sure. They really work their butts off to get our brand known, and you can tell, you can see that in the results of it.
I mean, yeah, it was one phone call for Joe Maui to make, and they were like, "Yeah, you tell us the date and time, we'll be there to do it." Which you can't ask for better partners than that. And Great Eagle's been already incredible to our club. They came and did a wine tasting for us, which was I learned more about winemaking in an hour.
Pretty incredible. He's super educated.
He's an extremely educated individual. And the wives were there, so they were happy. And it wasn't all just bourbon.
Sure,
they got
You
to
can include them.
what they say, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
So you got to have some stuff for the wives in there too.
Right,
But it was
it's cool because my wife loves whiskey, so
that's good. That's my wife. Like doesn't even want to smell my breath after I drink it. You know what I mean? She's the exact opposite. She's a wine girl and Angry Orchard. Those are her two go-to drinks.
I know for the longest time my wife was not into whiskey, and she was always mad at my hobby of always buying whiskey. And she's like, "Oh my God, you spend so much money." Brought her down here for the first time and did the whole distillery tours and trails. And the first one we visited was Old Forester, and as soon as she had Old Forester, I think it was 1910. She was like, "Maybe I do like whiskey. Maybe I see why."
right.
You're so into it, And then ever since then, we went and visited Willett. She loves Willett products too, and so she just loves the history and the tourism and all that stuff behind it.
Yeah.
So,
The more I learned about it, the more I wanted to learn about
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
It's just and I wasn't that great of a history fan in school, but
it draws you in though.
love the history about it. Read tons and tons of books about it. It's a really unique, cool industry.
Yeah.
It really is.
And I know for that first time we came down, we ended up doing 13 tours in 3 days.
Oh,
God,
And then
Jesus,
we came
we're
back
busy.
the next
Yeah.
day, or the next year, and I think we did about 13 or 14 again in 4 days. But
Wow.
I mean, that's how much she did enjoy it. So it's like this. It's really,
That's awesome.
really cool and fun to come down here and experience it. And if none of you have, I would check out Buzzards Roost and Bourbon and Bistros. I mean, the hospitality last night at dinner was incredible. So
Yeah, I'm bringing my wife for the first time here in April.
With ours, yeah.
My 40th birthday, and
Oh, sweet.
him and his wife's 10-year wedding anniversary, and so finally convinced my wife to come along, and so I'm hoping she finds the
You want me
history.
to order some
Yeah,
Angry Orchard?
yeah, exactly.
can you do like a little splash of it in there?
Yeah.
She gets the
Put some
notes?
Angry Orchard in there.
I'll make her a highball with some Angry
Yeah,
Orchard.
there you go. There you go. There you go. So tell us about the future, where you see the brand going. Like, what is your vision for the future of Buzzards Roost?
Well, can't do this overnight. Obviously,
Yeah.
the heritage brands have been there for 200 years or 100, however it is. I just, all we want to do is make some good whiskey and share it with people and hope they agree that we're making good whiskey. And it's not bad to be spoken of in those heritage brands,
No, of course.
spoken in the same category as those. So, we're just, I don't know where the future leads me, but that's what I want to do. Just continue to make great whiskey and make a little bit of money at it. I'd be happy,
Right.
Amen on that.
Yeah.
Amen on
It
that.
takes a lot of money to make money
Yeah,
in the street. So.
right. And we've had our struggles as a small brand, but I think we've got the fortitude to wage the storm. And
Well, let me ask you about that. Excuse me. I hear a lot of people saying the industry's starting to take a turn down from the COVID boom, whatever you want to call it.
sure.
And in St. Louis, my cousin and I were talking on the way down here yesterday. I think I see more product than I maybe did 6 months ago, a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like the hype is going down by any means.
No, and my take on that is this is an industry that has seen its ups and downs, like I've mentioned.
Yeah.
Prohibition, World War I, World War II, the '60s. You can't have double-digit growth. Anybody that plays the stock market, you can't sustain double-digit growth without a correction.
Sure.
So I think we're going to see a year or two of correction. But if you think about it now, when you started your all's bourbon club, or however many bourbon clubs there are across the United States that I've seen in the last 20 years, because there were none.
Sure.
And I started the Bourbon Society here in Louisville. And, that was incorporated back in 2000. So just think how many clubs and how many bourbon bars there are. There's more people drinking bourbon now than ever before.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And there's more people coming to the category through RTDs or through, you just don't walk in off the street and you're grabbing barrel strength bourbon, right?
Right.
You just don't do that. You have, everybody works their way into it. We were drinking bourbon and Coke back in college and getting acclimated with it. But there's more people now drinking bourbon than ever before. So I think the news is not helping us at all with this,
No.
Yeah, it's a little correction, but they just blow things out of proportion.
That's
and
what the news
like
does.
I said, right, and we keep doing what we're doing. It's not going to go anywhere. We also see tourism. I mean, you look at wine country; it's had its ups and downs, but they're still there. People still go to wine country and love going there.
Yep.
We're just now scratching the surface, really, here with this, especially along Whiskey Road here, of all the new places popping up. Now, I do think that some people got in the business for the wrong reasons. You got some successful business people who are like, oh, we'll just buy a brand and flip it,
Yeah.
And so there are some, I think, some hollow brands out there that are just, oh, well, I've got plenty of money. I'm going to open up a whiskey venture just for fun, or So there's not a lot of heart in that.
Well,
but
there's
there's still a lot of people out there making great juice. A lot of the smaller, distilleries or producers are doing good stuff. So there's a lot of innovation in the category as well. So.
Well, I was going to say, not to name any names, but there's heritage brands out there that I would say are all about making money and not about making the. And I shouldn't say that. That comes out wrong, but it's more about making the money than it is, to your point, the heritage, the taste,
And
I
do see that a little bit, because if you think some of the heritage brands have either changed hands, or some of the old guys have gotten out, and it has changed, to me, their business model.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was you knew everybody before these big corporations took over, and then it just becomes another corporation.
Correct. Yeah.
I kind of like the nostalgia of it, to try to think that to me, I feel like I'm old enough and been in it long enough to be a bridge between the old school and then all the new guys coming up. So I'm kind of right in the middle. So I know all the old guys and I know all the new guys, and I see, the change in it. But for the most part, like I said, there's a bunch of small guys coming up that are making headway, and and there's room for it. It's not like we're taking any market share from.
No.
If you think before Prohibition, there were 200 distilleries in the state alone. So. And that's where it was just more regional, and I don't know. I think I don't think any of these brands that are legitimate hurt the big industry at all. They're just helping it, and they're bringing other people to the category, like I said.
Exactly.
And I love the Jim Beams of the world. They fought it out before Prohibition and after Prohibition, and
yeah. Well, I was just going to say, on that note, to your point, some of the smaller brands are attracting some of the newer people too.
They are. We see that a lot. we get a lot of people that come in here and they're like, I want something that I can't get anywhere else. And when that is good for me at a point, you know, yeah, I'd love to sell internationally. You know, I'd love to sell nationally. I mean, we have a lot of growth. I mean, there's, you know, people come in here just walking by. It's like, we never heard of you, but we like your product, you know. So, so we
That's
feel
awesome.
like we're making some headway for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, on behalf of the Barrel Room Podcast and Barrel Bourbon Club, we appreciate not only just the hospitality you gave us yesterday and in dinner last night, but what you're doing for the industry and your brands and products. And I can tell you that, you know, our club and our podcast will always be a supporter for you guys and do everything we can to kind of support you in the St. Louis market. And look forward to working with you in the future.
No, I appreciate y'all having me on and look forward to having some drinks again.
Yeah. Before we end, do you want to let people know where they can find you? Where's Bourbon and Bistros? Where's
Yeah,
where
we're
sitting right here?
Yeah,
so that people...
Bourbon's Bistro. They're here in Louisville, Kentucky. We're on Frankfurt Avenue, and then you know, we should be on all the platforms.
You are.
As far as
I found you
know.
this morning.
Yeah, and me personally, I'm the Bluegrass Baron. What is it? On my Instagram, I'm the Bluegrass. Wait a minute. I'd have to
Did you
look
forget
it
your
up.
Instagram?
I did. It's early this morning.
Bluegrass something.
Bourbon Baron. I'm the Bluegrass Bourbon Baron.
Bluegrass Bourbon Baron on Instagram.
Nice.
I had to change it. They said I used to be the Bourbon Redneck.
They made you change it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
HR didn't like that. But you can find Buzzards Roost on the platforms as well. So we're out there. You know, if you're in town, stop by one of the two spots, and we'll have a drink.
That sounds great.
Excellent. Awesome.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
And thank you. We appreciate it.
As always, thank you guys for watching this episode. We'll be back here in 2 weeks. I want to give a special shout out to all our sponsors. We appreciate all you do for us to allow us to do this show. Thank you and cheers.